everyone, so today I'll be showing you how to make a pillow. You can make it for yourself or as a homemade gift to someone else. I've actually made this for my niece's 4th birthday. For a standard size pillow, you're going to need about half a yard of fabric. I also got extra fabric pieces because I'll be sewing on some letters, which I printed out and will be using as a stencil. And of course, you're going to need some scissors and possibly a marker, some thread and a sewing needle, and lastly, some polyester to fill your pillow. Depending on where you got your fabric, you might have to cut some of the excess off, like this white part right here, or you can cut it down to whatever size pillow you want to make. I'll be using all of my polyester, so it'll be a standard size. Now, onto the hardest part, which is putting that piece of thread into the needle. But once you're able to do that, just pull it about arm's length, and then you can tie the knot at the end. You want to make sure that your fabric is inside out before you start sewing. I'm going to show you a really basic sewing technique that I used throughout the video. You want to poke the needle through the fabric and pull it all the way through, and you're going to do the same thing going back to the other side. I'm not a good sewer, and this is the technique that I used throughout the entire video, and it works. So I mentioned earlier that you want to make sure that your fabric is inside out, and so with this particular piece of fabric that I got, it was really long, so I just folded it in half. This you can't really tell in the video, but this side that's showing is actually the lighter side, and that's how I know that should be on the inside. You don't have to use just one piece of fabric. I've made pillows before where I picked 2 different fabric pieces and one side was different from the other, and so you would do the same thing. You would just make sure that it's inside out and put the fabrics on top of each other and start sewing the sides. Once you start getting used to it, you can start doing what I'm doing, where I just poke the needle in and back up and just pull the thread once instead of going back and forth. You want to make sure that you're sewing straight, and so here I'm just using a ruler just to check. So how I end this sewing is really just poking through one side of the fabric and pulling through, kind of creating a knot. If you watch me, I'm just tying it multiple times before I cut it off, and this is really going to secure it. Now you can grab the scissors and cut the string off. I'll be sewing some letters on top of the pillow, so I'm going to take the letter that I printed out as a stencil and start tracing it on my piece of fabric. You would want to place the letters in reverse when you're tracing it so that in case you mess up when you're cutting, you won't see this Sharpie or marker on it. This piece of fabric is a little bit more rough than the fabric that I'm using as the pillow cover, but that's okay because it's actually going to make it a lot easier when you sew so that it doesn't wrinkle up as easily. So I'm just going to trace and cut out all the letters that I need. I'm just playing around and seeing where I want the letters to be placed, and once I figured that out, I'll start sewing them on. I'll be using the same sewing technique that I mentioned previously to sew around the edges of the letters. When you finish adding everything that you wanted, you can continue to sew the rest of the sides of the pillow. But make sure you leave about 3 inches at the end. From here, you want to pull your pillow right side out through the 3-inch hole that we left. Now we can take our polyester and start stuffing the pillow. You don't worry if it's lumpy at first. It's going to be pretty chunky, but once all the polyester is filled and stuffed, you can smooth it out with your hands. As you can see, I'm making sure that I really get into those corners of the pillow. Here I'm smoothing the lumps with my hands and filling in any holes that I feel. When you feel like you've stuffed your pillow enough to its desired fluffiness level, you can finally finish off the sew. You want to take your time at this part and make sure that it's as close as possible so that it's really sealed. Now that you've reached the end, you can secure your sew and you got yourself a great DIY pillow. This is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned near the end and you can see how my niece reacts when she receives it.
That's bigger than she is. Oh my god. Get watermelon.
She's just excited. you want the